All right. I'm with Meghan Daum, everybody. Welcome back to Walk-Ins. Welcome. Hello.
Hey, Bridget. So
How
happy
are
to be
you?
here. I'm pretty good.
I read your whole book. Every last essay, Missy.
Thank you.
The Catastrophe Hour.
Thanks.
What was your
Yeah.
favorite one in the book?
I kind of like, well, it's hard to say. So they were written over a 10-year period.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it is a collection in that the publisher came to me and they said, "Oh, do you have anything for us?" And I said, "How about we gather my favorite essays of the last 10 years." So in a certain way, they're all my favorites because I obviously wrote exponentially more than this, but these were the kind of the pieces that I wanted to gather. But the last three essays are brand new, have never before been published anywhere. So I kind of like the last three. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. That's like, Bridget, that's like asking what child is your favorite.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, as a reader, I had my favorites, I think.
Tell me.
I loved the last one in particular. Well, I love the one about your obsession with the house. Yeah, I think the last three felt like more present, but they were written closer to the present time.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And the other ones were like it was like a distant memory of a time that you and I lived through. You know, like
kind of time capsule.
Echo. Yeah. So it took me back, but it wasn't you and I are slightly it's funny because my mom was obsessed with 30 something and I was old enough to be aware of it, but not old. Like you and I are just enough apart that would have been something I would have been obsessed with had I been just a little bit older.
Right.
But my obsession, I think, was My So-Called Life.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was my
great show.
Big obsession.
I mean, that's a great show. That's a legitimately great television show. Better than 30 something. So.
But now it's like Instagram's like, if Jared Leto was your crush, you're probably in perimenopause. I'm like, why is Instagram always insulting me every time I go on there?
I'm not on Instagram. I'm afraid of it.
No. You're on TikTok though, right?
No.
You said it. Oh, I thought you said in your book
I have
you
a social media.
TikToks.
I have a social media person who apparently posts podcast clips on TikTok, but I won't go there myself because
we do the same thing. Actually,
eyes will burn out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, okay, so that's interesting because the last essay in the book is called "The End of the Personal," and it's about just how hard for me it's hilarious because this is a collection of personal essays, but I find it very cringe to write about myself, believe it or not, partly because just the nature of personal writing, the way it's read, the way it's edited, the way it's published, the way it's received generally has changed a lot, and I find it a real struggle.
Is that what was your kind of bread and butter, was the personal essay? Was because you do so much. You did features, you did interviews with celebrities, you did Vanity Fair spreads, and actual journalism. So what was and then there was the personal essay that kind of came about in our time, really.
Well, yeah, my bread and butter is definitely not personal essays because I would never have gotten paid enough. No, I will literally do anything. So I've been publishing since the mid 90s. So, and I have worked in publishing. I worked in magazines. I have had every kind of job that has to do with words or even not. I mean, I would go and answer phones as an office temp. And I did that a lot all through my 20s. No, I would do copywriting, ad writing, a lot of women's magazine stuff. So in the 90s, I guess my bread and butter was writing for glossy women's magazines because that's what paid the most. And occasionally, I had a column. Sometimes I forget about this. I had a column in Self magazine. Self magazine. I had a column in my 20s. And it was supposed to be girl in her 20s. What is a girl in her 20s thinking about? And it was literally the concept was, oh my God, it was Seinfeld, only a girl in her 20s. And it was a column about nothing. And I just riffed, and it was every month, and I got paid for that. And yeah, sometimes it was good. And if I had a steady contract and I was getting paid like every month for something, that was amazing. But then often it wasn't the case. No, I was like a real scrappy, struggling freelancer. And still am, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have those columns still?
well, no, because I
No.
had, I lost my house in the
Yeah.
fire, and
Yeah.
all of my clips were in filing cabinet in that house that burned down. So
I mean, it's
no,
amazing that you even have it.
I know. I mean, I haven't looked in a long time, but yeah, I know that I had a filing cabinet and it had stuff from the 90s, like literally. Yeah, because you would go and like you would write for magazines, and then you would photocopy the
Yeah.
article and then send it to like another editor to try to, pitch yourself as a writer. And yeah, those were the days.
Those were the days. I would have loved to read those columns.
They
20-year-old.
probably weren't bad because they were edited. Well, the thing is, like, you handed it in and your editor said, okay, this doesn't make sense here. This is not clear. You have to rewrite this. You have to say this. Can you get some data? Can you back up what you just said here?
Yeah.
Bring in some
Yeah.
evidence. Can you get a quote from somebody? Can you interview somebody? So there was like there was a standard that you had to meet every time. And that's
I
gone.
had my first. It's so true. It's gone. My first job was a Playboy columnist, and I would always be like, I'm just writing a column, not a journalist." And my editor, Joe Donatelli, the best first editor one could ever have, he said, "All great columnists are journalists." And I was just trying to be lazy.
Well, it used to be
Like,
that they would
sorry.
reward you with a column, like that they
Yeah.
wouldn't give you a column. The column was kind of the thing that, like, that was like the sunset. Like, you were a beat reporter for X number of years or decades, and then like once you'd establish yourself, then they give you a column. But no more, because columns are cheap and it's expensive to pay people to do reporting. So they kind of
And
just
now
got
there's
rid of
AI writing all of them.
there's AI writing and there's crowdsourced reporting. And so now what little is left is basically people vomiting out their half-baked opinions.
Yeah, it was interesting to read a lot of your essays about content creation and just how mortified your parents would be if they saw what you were doing and how
Yes.
you had the way that you view it and feel about it. And I don't share the similar feeling, but I do understand that sense of feeling like a busker. I always joke like, "All right, I know you guys want the monkey to dance." And it's like, here's some dollars,
Yeah.
street performer, when they're in your little guitar case, as you
Right.
mentioned in one of your essays, there is that sense of it. I don't I don't hate it, probably because I was such a freelance writer. I never experienced the, like, getting paid super well part
Yeah.
of the writing. So there was
Very, very
no
lucky you. Yeah, I know. It's a kind of a good problem to have that. Yeah. Well,
good
also,
and bad though, because I don't know the down I don't know the downfall of the industry quite as viscerally.
I mean, a lot of what I talk about in the book is, ambivalence about aging. Like, I don't like getting old, but I'm very glad to be the age that I am, because I'm very glad to have lived when I did. I mean, I'm still alive, obviously, but I'm very glad to have come of age as a
Yes.
woman and as a writer and as just a sort of professional person in the 90s as
Yeah.
opposed to now.
Yeah,
And
that paragraph that I love so much in the opening of your book where you're talking about basically this, life to me these days often feels like I'm backing up slowly from a tense and increasingly untenable situation. If the world in the post-Trump, post-George Floyd, post-COVID, post-whatever happened 5 minutes ago age feels in many ways like a bank robbery in progress, I'm the lady who is finishing up with the teller at precisely the moment the robbers entered the building. While the rest of the customers dropped to the ground, I managed to slither away just in time. My transaction completed, the door hitting me firmly but not violently on the way out. I read that. I was in the middle seat in coach on my plane ride to LA actually recently and read that out loud because it made me laugh. and I had befriended both people on either side of me. Well, one person I kind of knew actually already a little bit. And the white liberal lady who was probably around a boomer's age was like, I wish that was funny, any of it. And the black guy next to me was dying laughing. And I was like, this is such a perfect representation of our culture right now.
Right.
This lady is completely appalled because you mentioned George Floyd and Trump and just can't find any humor in any of it. And this guy is like dying laughing. And he was probably 10 years younger than me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, going back to what you asked a minute ago, yeah, I mean, when I got started, the barrier to entry was very high. Like it was very hard to break in. But if you did, yeah, there was a lot of money. There was a lot of money in magazines. It was before everything was online. Stuff was starting to come online, but you had big ads. You had glossy magazines. There was a lot of money behind them. There was a lot of advertising money, and they would pay people very well for sometimes very difficult assignments, obviously, but sometimes pretty cushy, easy assignments.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I was never getting paid directly by the audience, right? So I would get paid. I mean, this is a very obvious thing to say, but you get paid by the corporation. Sometimes it goes through your agent. So there were many sort of different payroll channels that this money that was coming from a corporation had to go through. And by the time it reached me, with of course everybody's cut taken out, I had no guilt about it. I was like, oh, amazing. And so to have to now deal directly with my audience and see literally how, who has unsubscribed and decided not to pay $7 going forward, which by the way, I don't look at. I don't notice when people unsubscribe, by the way. Sometimes people are like, I'm sorry I unsubscribed. And I'm like, I really have no idea that you did. But, on principle, I have to ask directly to be paid. And so my parents, who were absolutely against asking for help of any kind whatsoever, especially money, I think they would have been mortified. I mean, I think I say in that piece, like my mother would have, I think on some level she would rather I be stocking shelves at Walmart than asking for money on Substack. And not just because she would believe that none of her friends would ever shop at Walmart, like to see me there. Like she would be so embarrassed in front of her friends if I was like asking people to subscribe. And I'm embarrassed, frankly. I carry that with me.
Yeah, that's interesting to me, only because you see it as asking for money instead of valuing your work.
Yeah, I know. I do value my work, but I always think it's not enough. Like I always think, well, of course, it's funny. I think we were talking about like, Substack is becoming really oversaturated, and everybody's losing subscribers. And many people are anyway. And I think I said to you, like, oh, I'm losing subscribers because I'm annoying them too much. I'm sending out too many emails. Like I'm making too much content and it's annoying them and it's causing them to unsubscribe. And you were like, dude, no, everybody's losing subscribers,
Yeah. But I feel that way too. I worry that we're bombarding them with content. They get an email from us every day, to the point that we just put, and I'm a lunatic. Like my problem has always been too many notes, just it's like too many things. My original website that I made in 2005, the original iteration of Phetasy, was a rabbit hole. Like there was so many categories, and even still, like the Substack people will always be like, you have too much going on. Nobody knows what this is about. And I'm like, I can't. Okay, maybe I'm bad at branding. Okay.
But that's because you're a true artist. And if it was the 90s or any time before the 2000s, you would make all this content and you would do all this art, and then somebody would come along and say, like, let me help you make this legible to the public. Like, I'm going to take 20% commission, but your job is to create. It's not to brand. And I mean, I know this sounds like a very privileged complaint, and I guess it is, but I have no interest in like making TikTok videos promoting my work. And unfortunately, if I don't do that or have somebody else do it, my work's not going to get out there. So what's the point?
Yeah, and it is like there's a saturation. You know, they kind of thought there was no limit to what people could ingest in terms of content. They really did believe
Why
this.
did they think that?
I
That's
don't
so
know. But
obvious.
then they had the lockdowns to test this theory where people literally didn't have to work or do anything. And they found that even with all of that free time, people still really could only take in 7 or 8 hours of content, every day, which is quite a
That's
lot,
a
but
lot.
it's a lot, but, you know, if you watch that's 1 Joe Rogan and 1 Lex Fridman podcast, you know, that it's
It's quite a
or
marathon. That's like, that's are there people who really watch an entire Joe Rogan, an entire Lex
well, it's
Fridman
like
every
my
day?
husband says, he's like, "Bridget, they're not just sitting there, like, nodding to themselves at their kitchen
Okay.
table watching this. They're maybe some people are watching it on their TV when they're but he's like, they're usually just
Yeah,
driving,
that's true.
doing something else, doing like you say in your at one of your essays, it's like they're very intimately in your head while you're
Yes.
just in your kind of vulnerable moments alone or when you used to be alone. Look, guys, most of us struggle with weight loss. It's a very common problem. But if you truly want to lose weight in a way that is healthy for your body and get strong at the same time, nothing beats the Caliber app. The Caliber app is 100% free to get started with the ability to upgrade to unlock more features or add a coach for one on one support. The free version of the app provides full ad free access to the app's features, including over 500 exercises, workout tracking, and the ability to create custom exercises. From there, you can upgrade to Caliber Pro, which includes group coaching, or you can upgrade to Caliber Premium, which includes one on one coaching. I've said it before, but Caliber has been life changing for me. Caliber makes weight and strength training simple and easy. The fact that I'm even doing it is a miracle. It was always so overwhelming and intimidating to me, and Caliber makes it so easy to get started. It gives you step by step instructions and even videos showing how to correctly perform the moves. So go check out the Caliber app today. Go to caliberstrong.com/Phetasy to see if any of their versions is right for you. That's caliberstrong.com/Phetasy to get started and get strong. The link is in the description below. Did you see the do you get Tablet magazine?
Mhm.
So did you see the recent one that was like our podcast ruining your
I
life,
have
the
it
new
on my
cover?
it just came in the mail yesterday. I should hold it up. It's
I
literally
was like, "They
within
are,
arm's reach.
except for this one. This one's not
Oh,
ruining
no.
your
Did they
life."
name check anybody? Uh-oh.
I don't know, actually, I haven't read the article yet. I just saw the cover.
I love what Tablet is doing with,
I
like,
love that
making a real
magazines are coming
magazine.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deseret's good. I've written for them. I've been with Spectator now for 5 years. I still get they just sent me the cover for this month's, and I wrote a whole column my column this month is about the dead internet theory and how I think it actually is true. It's a conspiracy theory, but I'm like, it seems like one of those conspiracy theory. The conspiracy is that it's like the man who's doing this to manipulate all of us, which maybe, but there is a feeling that the internet is dead. And I was writing about
Hmm.
how it's weird to have lived through the 90s in real life. And you see this kind of version of a like tweet that goes around over and over again because it gets a lot of engagement where it says, did kids in the 70s, 80s, and 90s really get to roam free, or is that just something they made up in the movies? And then everybody tells their stories about drinking out of the garden hose and riding their bikes. It's almost like a meme at this point.
Right.
And now it's like, I feel like I'm living through that again with the internet, which is even more strange. Where even though I was interacting with likely a pervert in a chat, I knew it was a real person. And now it's
It wasn't some like Pakistani engagement
AI.
farmer. Yeah.
Yeah, engagement farmer AI, all these things that
Right.
have now come they did this study that I cite in this column. It's like, I mean, granted, it was done by a security team, but they said like 50% of the internet is now, or 50% of the engagement is now non-human.
Mhm.
That's crazy and
Yeah.
exponentially increasing.
And then to see people getting so exercised and ruining their lives and their blood pressure health because they're arguing with bots.
Bots.
I mean, and they're obviously like, I get
Yeah.
a lot. I'm really interested in like manosphere content and pro-natalist content and stuff like that. And so I click on it a lot, and so I get a lot of it on my feed. And 80% of it is not. It's certainly not in earnest. Like it's either generated by somebody as rage bait, as an engagement farming, or it's AI that people are like foaming at the mouth and really upset, and how dare you, and you're disgusting. And I'm like, it's so obvious that this is fake. I don't understand why people are so unsophisticated that they really think this is real.
I think it's just they get caught up in the emotions, and it's interesting that we've evolved from clickbait to rage bait. Even that
Yes,
term
yes.
is clearly things have escalated a bit in terms of how we're being baited, and I don't know that a lot of it feels like boomers, even probably older Gen Xers, they don't have the same sophistication that younger people have, or the apathy that younger people have, where they just are like, "Whatever, don't care." It's even more extreme, it feels to me, than Gen X's was, but it's also, I think, a protective you need that to even protect against the hypermediation and rage bait. I don't know how else you would emotionally
Yes, there's exactly.
protect yourself from that. And boomers, I mean, even just yesterday, we were talking about the floods here, which are tragic. And um, this woman who works with my daughter, she was saying that her mom, who's in her late 70s, was sending her all the, cloud seeding conspiracy videos that are going around amongst like all the boomers. And it's just, there's something very funny, and we were talking about this in one of my group chats about for Dumpster Fire, about how funny it is that the people who don't like these kind of right-wing people who don't believe in climate change will believe in, like, cloud seeding before they even believe in climate change. You're like, "They modeled all this, like,
Just
20 years
cut to
ago,
the
by the
chase.
way."
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, everything is confirmation bias, and everything is cope, right? Like, I
Mm,
mean, because when I learned this term from Sarah Hayter. So Sarah Hayter and I were doing this podcast, A Special Place in Hell, for a couple of years, and she's a brilliant, young, very unusual kind of thinker. She's
autistic.
20. I don't know that she's autistic,
No, I
actually.
know,
I
she's
think
very blunt.
she's something. I mean,
Yeah,
we've talked about this. She's definitely neurodivergent in some way. I'm
yeah.
not sure it's autism, because she's actually very attuned to subtleties of like human expression. But yeah, she's definitely unapologetic. She doesn't care what people think. But she introduced me. She's 20 years younger than I am. So she introduced me to this concept of cope. So anything that you say or rail against or argue for, like whatever your big issue is, all you're really doing is justifying your own experience and your own sense of loss about whatever is happening in your life. So that all these people that are like, I follow this pro-natalist content, and I'm somebody who chose not to have children, but I'm extremely sympathetic to people who have children, and I actually do, partly thanks to Sarah, believe that there's population crisis and like more people should have babies. I do think that, just not me personally. But you get all these people saying my life was shit, and then I had a kid, and why are you even on earth? We're only here to procreate, and you're wasting your life, and you're a pathetic person. And it's like so obviously cope, because it's really hard to be a parent. Like half of the pro-natalist content are, I think, new parents who are totally overwhelmed and feel that they were sold a bill of goods about how hard it is. And then you get like the, not even anti-natalist, but the sort of like super anti-trad crowd. And that's just kind of cope about your being sad that you don't have a family. So
It's weird though, like, I don't know that cope is interesting. I've thought a lot about this, and I've tried to write about it not articulately, because it's something you almost can't fully recognize until you're looking back.
Right.
I
Oh,
don't know,
yeah.
it seems like something you can't really recognize until you're reflecting, or unless you're incredibly self-aware, and if you're self-aware, then you're not necessarily I mean,
Then you're by definition, you're not doing it. It's like if you think you're crazy,
well
you're not crazy.
right, but also we all have coping mechanisms. I mean, to a certain
Right.
extent, everything is cope.
Right. But
It will
there's
become that thing of, like, if everything is cope, nothing is cope.
yes, exactly.
Yes, we're all coping with our daily existence. Welcome to this is kind of like this it feels a little bit like Gen Z discovers dealing with life, you know?
Exactly.
Like
Right. Right. Yes, but you can the idea of cope as a noun, like
Yes.
that is different than coping, I think.
Yes. Yep.
So there's an essay in the Catastrophe Hour. I think this might actually be my favorite essay, even though it's also the one that makes me cringe. It's called Femcel Cope, which I really hate the title, and I wish I could go back and give it a different title. But I don't know about you, but again, like I see a lot of discussion about how people should settle down earlier. Like for those of us who are sort of, Gen X or millennials, women were told they have to get a career first. It's idiotic to like marry the first person you date. And so now there's a lot of revisiting of the sexual revolution, and people like Louise Perry and others talk about how it's really better if you pair up early, start a family early. That's going to be better for you, for society, for the economy, everything. I don't disagree with that, but I was also really interested in thinking about my own sort of relationship history and my own kind of relationship to like the dating and mating project. Because if you had asked me when I was in college or in my very early 20s what I wanted out of life, I think I would have told you I want to like find a great guy. I want it to be Hope and Michael from 30 something. Like
Right.
I want to have we're going to be impressive people, mind you, but like I want to have a partner, I want to have a family, I want to have a great house and have this kind of life. And I was in a relationship from 22 to 25 or so with somebody who also wanted that. He was a little bit older. And something happened when I was 25 and everything just my whole perspective kind of changed. And I became somebody who didn't want that really at all. And, I kind of do this thing. It's a pretty long essay. I kind of do this sliding doors kind of thing. Like, well, what would have happened? Like if I had married this guy, we kind of did that thing where you date for too long. Like if we
Yeah.
had gotten married in the first year, I was like so head over heels and excited. Like maybe I would have been a totally different kind of person and not wanted any of the stuff that I actually went on to want. So maybe that, or maybe like if I had gone to a different kind of college, I would have had, been exposed to different kinds of people and I would have had different goals, whatever. But I do think that it's sometimes foolhardy to think that whatever that getting married and settling down early is necessarily good for everybody, because sometimes people really, really do change. And I don't think I tried to sort of be a different kind of person, and I'm really not. So anyway, so the cope, the joke of the title of that piece was like people would just say, well, everything that you're laying out here is just cope because now you're a middle-aged woman and you're by yourself. You're a childless dog lady and here you are and you must be secretly miserable. And so thinking about all this and writing this essay must be cope. And maybe it is, because
Right.
as you say, like everything is cope. Like
Right, and so much of because I mean, in many ways, reading your book was really interesting for me because it easily could have been that could easily be my life, and I would have been fine with it. This is what I don't think the message you can't know what you don't know.
Right.
So only having a kid and seeing the joy that comes with that, because it just seemed mostly like a burden, and I was around parents, and they always look exhausted, and my husband and I are older, and we joke about how just all the things. We have a pretty good sense of humor about it all, and I can look back at some of the stuff that I said and recognize that it was probably cope. Maybe because I did want kids, there was this desire in my heart but that's because I have a healthy child, maybe? I mean, I also don't know what that would have looked like if we ended up having a special needs kid. And now we had this great, I mean, we were thinking of having kids in the pandemic hit. And then we were like, oh man, thank God we don't have kids. We were just living the dream. Just the two of
Living the
us hanging
lockdown
out.
dream.
I mean, it was, yeah, we had our dog. We were totally happy. I'm like, when things open up, if they ever do again, we'll go travel. And we really came to terms with not having a kid while I was pregnant, mind you. But we had that conversation on the beach before I knew I was pregnant. And I was like, are you okay with this? Are you going to regret it? You cannot know what you don't know.
Right, of course.
So there's no, I feel like women now are getting, again, everything is like split into this binary because everything's politicized or polarized. And it's like you either have to get married at 22 and figure it out and find the guy right away, or you just never have children. And that it's not like,
Right.
I always say, embrace the healing power of and. It's not necessary. I was reading this great essay with, Rod Dreher.
Uh-huh.
So he wrote this piece wrestling with, God about the camp mystic stuff. But he also talks about it kind of a little bit of a tangent in this essay about getting married young, being quite judgmental as a Christian, thinking that he had it all figured out, and having this conversation with a young Christian who's getting married young. And he said, just don't put he said, I wish I had known that being Christian and doing all these things right and getting married young would be enough to keep my marriage. Things happen in life, and I was very judgmental about people who didn't do this. And I see a lot of that right now in the pro-natalist crowd.
Yes.
Where it's like, you guys have young kids and you're young, and life has not hit you in the face yet.
Yes.
And a lot of this, you could be eating even when I wrote the piece about how divorce never ends, I was hesitant to even publish it because I'm like, I feel like this assures that I'm going to get divorced.
No, I would think it assures that you don't. It's sort of like if you think of every bad thing that could happen, it's only the things you don't think of that happen.
Yeah, but it was still just, I was talking about my husband and I coming from divorce and how it never ends for us. But people felt so attacked by that because I didn't have, you have 800 words and that you don't have time to kind of deal with every specific scenario that every individual reading it. And that's, I think, the difference now than when you were writing, is that you hear from every one of those people and their individual, like, why didn't you address this thing that I experienced?
Right, exactly. Why isn't this about me? And why is this headline? Why did you write this terrible headline that you did not write? Writers never write the headlines. Yeah, well, I really liked that piece though, because you were talking about something that I had never thought about before. It was like the knock-on effects. I mean, not that I hadn't thought of it, but I don't think had really been isolated as a phenomenon. And so, you were just saying you have extended families, and if you've got a whole bunch of people who are divorced, like there's going to be complications. But, getting back to the, life hasn't hit them in the face yet thing, the first essay in the book, it's called The Broken In World. I wrote it in 2016. So the pieces were written between basically 2016 and 2024. And, that's actually, it's been 9 years since I wrote that, but I like that piece a lot too. Sort of on a literary level, but it's really like this thing I noticed when I got divorced, which is that, again, like even though I was older when I got older when I got married, it was still sort of living the dream. I mean, my husband, we were in our early mid 30s when we met, and it's like, okay, wow, this has actually worked out. Like I can be smug now because it's worked out for me. In the end, it did. And, we ended up getting very amicably divorced, but nonetheless divorced. And I found that when people sort of started hearing that I'd been divorced, and I moved from LA back to New York for several years, people were kind of crawling out of the woodwork and wanting to talk with me about their problems and how their lives were not perfect. And there was this real dichotomy between what I was seeing like on Facebook of these people's lives that looked perfect. They were presenting curated images of their perfect kids. And you know how that thing people do, like, to my amazing wife on her birthday, she gets more beautiful every
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And it's like, set your watch. That means
Yeah,
there's somebody's in
exactly.
trouble. And it was suddenly like this way of being in the world that was there was a brokenness to it. Like I compare it to like, if this kind of married life and being younger and getting everything right and being kind of smug about it is like patent leather, like very stiff leather. When stuff goes wrong, it becomes a very supple leather. It's like your world is not really broken; it's broken in.
Mhm.
And I mean, David Brooks would call it broken open. I know he has, but I really think of it as broken in. And it's a much more interesting way to be in the world. And your communications with people are much more interesting and authentic. And you see like how fucked up everything is. Like, wow,
Yeah.
like you're telling me like I saw you on Facebook looking perfect. And in fact, like somebody's been in a psychiatric ward, like
Yeah.
so many things. And I think that is just far superior way to like have relationships with people and think about yourself in relation to the world than these like young pronatalists who are so smug and are obviously suffering and struggling and are coping with it by being so rigid.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just again, like you said, a coping mechanism, and it's a I think that rigidity can protect you, from confusion. And I think people just don't humans don't handle confusion well. I was thinking when you were talking, like, my life got so broken in very early. I got addicted to drugs. I was 19. So things I remember so vividly to this day, sitting in a rehab cafeteria looking around going, "Wow, that didn't turn out the way I thought." Like, not at all. And I was a straight A student, and it was like that moment of cognitive dissonance
Yeah.
between the way that I had imagined my life and where I found myself was so powerful at such a young age, and then from there on out, it was like a little too broken in. I was just like, well, now I decided I realized through that I wanted to be an artist, but then it just became I mean, and then it was just scrapping to get by.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not real structure or anything. Now, the fact that, Moynihan was like, "Hey, can you do this last minute thing?" I'm like, "I'm a proper lady now. I have to plan things in
Oh,
advance."
right.
Yeah, and
Don't call me and ask me out on a date an hour before. I'm not going
I
to be
used to
available.
be able to go to London with, like, 3 hours
Oh,
notice,
yeah.
and it's I mean, my I was saying to Maggie recently, my passport expired, and I would never let that happen, but I was so buried in being young mom, toddler, moving, all the things, and I got asked to go on this trip, and I went, and I was like, my passport I was like, "I don't even know who I am anymore." It caused, like, a identity crisis.
Yeah.
So much of my identity was, like, being the girl that could go to frickin' Japan and on a
Right.
whim, and
Living lightly. Yeah.
yeah. And now I will go into a psychotic, like, trance and plan the entire summer. I was not a person that you could trust to even get on the flight I said I was getting on.
Uh-huh.
I was
That's so funny. Everybody has their identity thing like that. Like I think I used to see myself as being extremely culturally up to date with everything, like, seeing every movie, knowing what was in theaters even, like, even if I didn't I mean, like, Broadway theaters, even if I didn't go, of course, but, like, I would read the Village Voice cover to cover, and I would, like, know every single thing that was happening in New York, and I would read every film review, and, like, I would just be constantly talking about the culture. And now I don't even know half like this Justin Baldoni thing, whatever. Everybody was talking about it. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I didn't know who it
Yeah.
was. I don't know who anybody is. And that's partly because I don't have kids. Like that's Actually, the thing that I always say, like, I actually love not having kids. And I also readily admit that I'm an outlier. Most people want to have kids, they should have them. They like having them. I'm just not a normal person. If I had a kid, I'm sure I would love my child and I would rise to the occasion. However, the thing that makes me, the only little bit of regret that I have is that I feel like if I had a kid, I would be much more up to date on things. It's very obvious. Not that that's a reason to, but it's very obvious that I don't have this. I'm not getting new information. Like, I'm not being exposed to new things. I don't know. I haven't seen, like, it's funny. Sarah and I were doing the podcast. I did not know the story of the Little Mermaid. I didn't. I did not, because
how did she? She's young.
She was a little kid. That movie came out in 1989.
Yeah.
I was in college.
Right.
I was in college.
I was 10.
Right.
11.
So, like, she's like, don't you know that Ariel comes from Atlantica or something? And, like, I mean, I think I say this in the book. That would be like, for me, somebody not knowing that Santa Claus comes from the North Pole. Like, shocking. Like, it was completely shocking to her that I wouldn't know that. But I have no reason to know that. She's
like 10 years younger than me, so she was only like 2 when that came out.
Well, I mean, kids still watch that over and
over.
I mean, it's like it's classic.
It is. My daughter just recently got into it.
You will soon know everything about The Little Mermaid, I assume. But
oh no, I already did, because I was obsessed with it when it came out. Okay. I was like the core age. It was made for me, and so directly for us.
But there's so much, and if you think about, like, I mean, I think I talk about this in the book, like, in 1989, The Little Mermaid came out. I was in college. I was taking this art history survey class, which was like the most famous class at this college, hundreds, big lecture class. And it went all the way from, the history of art, like just general survey, went from like caveman paintings up to, whoever, Damien Hirst, if that was even, we had flashcards and we would study them and, have to memorize the dates and everything, but it only went up to 1989. Like, it felt like it felt so overwhelming. Like, how could you possibly memorize all this stuff? And yet when I think about it now, it's like, wow, it only went up to 1989 because nothing had been made after that. And somebody taking that class now has to go up to 2025. And so it just gets more and more and more. And it would be like, just on a pure physics level, impossible to absorb all of everything about culture. So I guess it's no surprise that everything gets really siloed and you just pick and choose, and then nobody's on the same page.
But like you said too, so much of it is just the essay you wrote about music was really interesting to me, how your tastes are kind of formed.
Yeah.
And you even mentioned Dave Matthews in a separate essay, not about the one that was about music, but I was thinking Dave Matthews has come out with so many albums since I originally started listening to him at the very beginning, like you. And I don't know what any of them are.
No, I think they all jam.
I
feel like he's like a jam band, and it's just, I don't know if he has actual songs anymore. Maybe I don't know.
I think he does. I'm sure. I think he does, but he's forever frozen in my mind for the 3 albums that I was obsessed with him.
They were great.
And it's like he never stopped. It's like he stopped making music.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Dave Matthews fans are going to get mad at me. I'm sure they're real songs and they're great. But yeah. No, I mean, they have actually done studies about, like, your kind of the cognitive way, your sort of cognition and music. You actually stop being open to new music after the age of 20 or something like that. I mean, I actually do. I mean, obviously that's a huge generalization. Like that. No, and there is a lot of new music that I listen to, but it's of the same genre of artists that I liked in the past. It's just kind of like it's interesting because they're clearly artists who were deeply influenced by these other ones. So it's nice it's like listening to their offspring or something like that.
I saw something the other day that was like Gin Blossoms is under oldies now or something, some band from our 90s. I was like, oh my God, why are we like part of the oldies? That's crazy. It is weird. I relate so much to like all of the internal monologuing that you have about just aging. And there's so much more too that I could add to that. Even just my recent obsession with getting a facelift.
Oh my God.
But when you were talking about your chin and your face on camera, I was like, aging on camera is horrific. I know why all these women are insane that I've judged so much in Hollywood. I'm like, oh, come on, ladies. What? It's not that big of a deal. Just age naturally. And now I'm like, I need a facelift.
I mean, again, this is one of these things that as a writer, I never thought that this would be an issue. Like that was not, I did not sign up for this. Like even when I started my podcast 5 years ago, did not sign up for this. Like I loved radio. I still every day I think, well, what would happen if I just went back to doing an audio only podcast? Like maybe the world would thank me. I don't know. But yeah, no, I mean, there's stuff about my face that, there's the piece in the book. It's called A Handsome Woman.
That's a good piece.
No, I mean, there's stuff about my face that I now like think about a lot that if I was not doing video content would never cross my mind. Never.
No.
I would be completely unaware of it. Utterly clueless.
I've recently become obsessed with like not like, oh God, am I going to be this kind of like haggled old mom when my daughter is a teen and I've got to get ahead of this. I can't be the ugly mom.
Do it for her.
I've got to get a facelift for my kid.
She'll have no self-esteem otherwise. If you don't get a facelift, your daughter's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's going to be me. This is responsible parenting.
It is this weird thing that I never even had to consider in my lifetime of like, I look at my friend and she's an actress and she's so skinny and in shape and her daughter just is like, oh my gosh, mom, you look amazing. And looks up to her and my daughter's going to be like, you should have probably used some lotion, mom.
The thing too is like, I feel like for a while the message was like, oh, all these injectables and everything, no one's going to have to get surgery anymore. Like the days of surgery are over. And now in the last few years, it's like, no, actually we were wrong about that. Like just save your money and get a facelift because all these like injectables look pretty bad. And
exactly.
Don't do the job.
I love how they're like, now it's all about the undetectable work. And they'll show like Lindsay Lohan with a different face. I'm like, it's pretty detectable. Like, why are we calling this undetectable?
We have to get ahead of it. If you got to do it when you're young, you got to do it before you need it.
This is preventable facelifts.
Right. It's preventative, not preventive. Yeah, preventative. Yes.
Wasn't that they were calling it like preventative Botox? For a while, they were calling it preventative Botox.
I mean, they should. I'm surprised they don't have GoFundMe. I know. I was saying to a friend who wanted to get a breast reduction, but she didn't want to pay for it or something, or she couldn't afford it. And I was like, just say you're getting top surgery. I said, just say you're getting top surgery and start a GoFundMe.
There's so much I don't think people realize how much online. This is what I mean when you're like, oh, I'm online begging. I'm like, no, you're not. I've gone down the GoFundMe for like top and bottom surgery rabbit holes because it was one of my weird obsessions.
Oh my God.
It's just how many online beggars there are just asking for money for this stuff. And they don't seem to have any shame doing it.
Do you feel like people don't want to get regular jobs anymore? Like everybody has to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm asking you in earnest. I don't know the answer to this. Like, is there less interest in just like going to work for this company and getting a regular paycheck? Because I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And people really kind of fetishize like self-employment.
It's horrible. I don't know why people fetishize it. It is not for everyone. The only reason I can handle the insecurity that I exist with now as someone with a family and mouths to feed is because I've existed with it since I was 20. But the level of like, I understand why men used to just drop dead of heart attacks from having to provide for their family all the time and still.
Yeah.
And I think that like burden of being a provider is a different thing. Again, something I never fully understood. And then I also used to mock all these women when I would watch them doing, like I would follow all these workout chicks and they would have breakdowns. Always. They would just
real
be
ones?
real mental breakdowns that they would film, and they'd be like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, come on, ladies, you're just making videos. Give me a break. This isn't like brain surgery. It's not hard. And now that I feed the algorithm, I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm probably gonna have a breakdown on camera someday.
Yeah.
Like people always be like, get a real job. And I'm like, it's so funny because people used to say that to me when I waited tables. They would say, get a real job. I'm like, what is this mythical real job that I've never been able to have? Because now when people say that to me, I think they mean waiting tables. But even when I was waiting tables, they meant like go get a real job in corporate, I guess.
I guess corporate. I mean, I don't know, but is it like, are those jobs, do they not exist, or
No.
I mean, I guess you're
It's
more
fucking
easily
done, Megan.
What's that?
The job apocalypse is coming. No one's talking about it. It's going to be like a biblical flood that it is going to be so bad. No, there's no plan for it. We have no
Wait, are you
bags.
saying there's no jobs or there's no people for the jobs?
There's no job. There's going to be no jobs. AI is coming for every single job. All of them. The only protection that we have as creators, I believe, is that people hate slop. They fucking hate it. They rightfully react to it. It has no soul, but that's going to be a small window because pretty soon you're not going to be able to tell the difference. And so we'll probably exist in that small window where there's a holdout of people who hate it. And then no one will, my daughter probably won't be able to tell the difference and won't grow up knowing the difference. I mean, my sister and I were joking because I sent her there's a Spotify band that was getting promoted to everybody. And then someone on Reddit was like, there's no evidence that this is an actual band.
I saw that. Wait,
exists.
what are they called? Are they called, I think I saw something about
I wrote about this in my column. Of course, I can't remember the name. It's some kind of like alt-y band name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Maggie, do you remember the name of the band?
It's something with like wolves in it, or it's some
that was like AI.
Oh, and it has a very similar name to some other band. It was like this had a name very similar.
It had a name band, that was,
but like one art, like and instead of the or something like.
It was like 2 words, like white sound or something like that. It's something
white sound, the sound of whites.
The Velvet Sundown.
Yes.
Okay, so they are not as far as everyone can tell, they're not a real band. They're completely AI. And I posted it on my Instagram. My sister was like, "This is so fucked," and I was like, "I know." And she's like, "Not gonna lie though, it's pretty good."
Well, their music is better than their graphics. The way you can tell is because of the visual looks like slop.
Yeah. But that's going to get better too. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's coming for you have exactly, I mean, I've talked about this so many times. My audience is probably, you have the same thing that I have of like, for you, it's more fantasy. For me, it's more of a fear, but kind of a fantasy of, I'm like, I'm going to be that waitress in a diner that's why this is a diner, by the way. So much of it
so you can just
is like, I'm going to have the wrist guard because I've been a waitress my whole life. I can see it so clearly serving coffee at a like off the interstate diner somewhere in the middle of nowhere in America. And I do fantasize about that. Sometimes I say to my husband, I'm like, I'm going to go get a job. Like the Chili's opened up near us in our suburb. And I was like, maybe I should go get a job at Chili's. He's like, you would hate that in like 5 minutes. What are you even talking about?
I think that would be hard. I have weird fantasies about getting a real job. I mean, but I don't like to talk about it because it's like insulting to people who have those jobs. I mean, I went through the TSA.
But I loved those jobs.
But I mean, you can't, but physically, I mean, those are very physically demanding jobs being a waitress.
I have the spider veins to prove it.
Sure.
Like I was waiting tables until 2019. It wasn't that long ago that I was still slinging French fries.
I mean, I went through the TSA recently and there was a woman working at it. She must have been in her 70s. I mean, she looked like she could have been like your preppy country club lady, like, tall, like, gray hair, like attractive, but easily in her 70s. And she was working TSA. And I'm thinking like, wow, like, what is the story there? How does that happen? And then I thought, well, how do you get that job? Like,
But
maybe
you
I
might
could get
want
that
that
job.
job.
No, I
A
don't want
lot
that.
of people in their 70s just want something to do. They
I
talk about
love
this all the
I
time.
mean, I love planes and I love airports and aviation stuff. So I can imagine worse jobs.
Yeah,
But
it's I mean,
I
it's
wonder how
not
much it pays.
I don't know what to tell my daughter to do, I'm like, welding? Become an
Yeah, she needs to
electrician?
be in the trades. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all these kids need to be in the trades,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
even that, they'll
yeah.
probably have robots doing soon.
Yeah, no, it's terrifying because that's another thing is that like, sort of the themes in the book is that I thought the deal was if you pursued a career and got somewhere in your 30s and 40s, like when you're older, you'll then be a kind of elder statesman. Like they'll invite you to speak or you can go teach at some I thought worst case scenario, I would end up teaching at some university. Okay. That was like the safety. And now it would be inconceivable. I could never get a teaching job. Not even for like problematic reasons, but just because of age. They don't, I mean, the students are the customers. They want professors that they can look up to that are accessible to them. They're gonna want to see, oh, that person's 40 and I want to be her, not this person's 60 and I want to be her, or even 50.
With our handsome, sagging faces.
Yeah.
Aging is hard. It's so funny though. There's a whole generation of women, particularly millennials, who are about to come of age, and I do think I see it a lot in the just even marketing already. I'm like, oh, there's like gonna be a perimenopause boom. This is it's suddenly a thing people pay attention to and care about, but only because there's about to be so many people going through it, and they see a
That was a
market
huge marketing
essentially.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Perimenopause wasn't even invented.
No.
It's like the invention of the teenager. You know how like there didn't used to be a teenager? It was just something that was invented in the 50s.
Perimenopause
Perimenopause
wasn't
was
even
invented
invented.
like I don't know, like 2014 or something.
It's the John Hamm. It's the John Hamm meme where he's like, "We'll call it perimenopause."
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We can scare all these old ladies into getting facelifts at 47 years old. We'll
Yeah.
tell them about the dangers of it, like your lips getting thinner. And
Yes. It's osteoporosis did not scare them enough. And now we have to say it's actual harm. Yeah.
it's so messed up. It is so weird because I feel like you could at least somewhat have an idea of what maybe not. Maybe every generation goes through this, and with us, it's just exponential, but I have no concept of what my daughter's life will look like.
Yeah.
You could kind of conceive of what it would look like, I think, before the internet and technology, or maybe there was just a window of time that people are idealizing from like the 50s to the internet
Right. Well, I
90s.
mean, the tool, we had the same things. Like we had basically
Right.
the same appliances. Like we had, this has been a massive shift. I wonder, like, I often want to ask this of parents. I mean, it does feel like things are terrible. It does, no matter what side you're on, like it feels very chaotic and it feels scary. Like speaking of cope, like how do you cope with the fact that you have a child and like you have skin in the game? Like you
Yeah,
need to
literal.
believe that her life is going to be okay and that she can achieve some amount of happiness or success.
I don't know that I believe that. No, I mean, I don't know that my job there's that expression you hear, you don't prepare the road for your child, you prepare your child for the road. And in this version of the road, it's that book, The Road, where it's the apocalypse. But it isn't my job I don't feel all I can do is give her coping tools. All I can do is give her tools for thinking. How do we, and give her a set of values that I hope helps prepare her for the world, although it might not. I don't, all I can do is teach her how to be someone who's curious, hopefully someone who's kind. Hopefully I don't want to beat the fight out of her because she's so feisty. And I'm like, she's going to need that. I don't know how to, those are like the struggles I have as a parent, where it's like, how do I set boundaries and also I don't want to like beat her spirit out of, kind of like break her, into just being an obedient little drone, because she's got a mind of her own and has since the day she was born. She's just not. I was like an obedient kid.
Me too. I was such a parent pleaser
and
yeah.
parent pleaser, and
Yeah.
was oldest. And
Yes.
she's like, F you, like, I'm gonna do
Interesting.
what I want.
That's
And
great.
I was just not like that, and I think it's good for her, actually. I had a sister who was, like, much more strong-willed, knew what she wanted, and it served her well in life. And I think that I don't know, she has kind of an idyllic life now. I also know how quickly that can all change just with whatever life hands you. So
how do you think the people pleasing changed, the parent pleasing? Because I was totally like that as a kid and as a teenager. I did not get in trouble. I mean, and my parents they had, I was on a pretty short leash, and I somehow, somewhere along the line, I think it's kind of, maybe it was even around when I was 25, like I was talking about it earlier, like something just flipped and I was like, I'm not doing any of this. Like, I am not.
Well, that is when your brain
playing.
like is kind of formed.
Yeah. I mean, there were seeds of it, obviously, like when I was younger. I mean, anything when I wrote, I would write even in high school, like I would sort of see myself like, oh, this is the real me, like sort of buried in this essay that was a little bit like challenging things and even sort of counterintuitive, early heterodox approach even then. But oh man, in terms of like interacting with people, I did not want to get anybody mad. I mean, I still don't. I guess I get them mad through my work. I guess maybe it hasn't gone away. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, when I just flamed out so spectacularly at 19, it liberated me from a lot of the pressure that was put on me and that I put on myself. And then I just had to figure it out. But it also made me realize that I didn't really know what I wanted, truly what I wanted. I wanted a degree from an Ivy League school. When that didn't happen, I really felt like I had let myself down. And then I continued to let myself down for many, many years. And it was a mess. Like, it was just I was really lost. And I remember feeling very lost pretty early in my teens. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And somewhere through that, I didn't care about the parent pleasing. And they had kind of stopped being parents to a certain extent when they got divorced. So I was like, why am I trying to please you?
I know,
like,
actually,
you aren't even considering
forfeited
us at all.
They lost their privileges. Yeah, I know. I think my parents split up when I was in college and and I think around that time too, I was sort of like, no, I didn't have to go through the motions quite as much, but there was still,
But I also had this realization, because I'd been really mad at them and blaming them for things. But then I remember sitting in that rehab, and I was 19, so I was old enough to be on my own. And I was like, oh, it really doesn't matter how I got here. I'm still going to have to figure it out moving forward. It does not matter.
Right.
And that was just a powerful revelation for me, just recognizing that. And I see this in everything now, even with the kids who are tragically lost in the flood. There's this instinct to be like, what, like, how did we get here? What do we do? I think it's all appropriate. We saw it with the fires. There's the instinct to be like, who do we hold accountable? And were there things we could have done differently? Yes, sure. But these parents, like, can we wait until we find everyone?
But
Like, there's this instinct to try and make sense of something is so human.
That's human. That's a human instinct. I mean, I know
it's not wrong.
No, there's nothing you can do about it. But I mean that the floods in Texas and the camp mystic. It's so upsetting.
So upsetting.
And I've been thinking about, I mean, I know it's a Christian camp. I get the sense that it wasn't like a deeply religious kind of camp or anything. I don't get the sense that these families were like deeply religious, but I wonder if there's any kind of like comfort that is being derived from a spiritual place, like the fact that it was a Christian camp. And
I'm sure there is. I think one of the earliest podcasts I did on this show was with a woman, Nikki Mark, and her 12-year-old son died in the middle of the night and still has no idea why. He just died. It was like, did not talk, no discernible reason for this. And she said that she wasn't that religious. She was raised with some religion around, but was not religious. And she said she basically had like a crisis of faith, and that she, or more, just was struck with faith. It was like a reaction to it. It was either that or not having faith. And she said it was something that just struck her, and she kind of woke up the next day and was a kind of believer. And
wow.
I do think even if, I think having faith in these situations is better than not having it.
Yes.
So even if your faith is challenged, even if you're like, wrestling with God, it's not like these things are not wrestled with in all of these scriptures. All of these scriptures are wrestling with the human condition and suffering, right. and oh God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus said it while he was on the cross. So I think there is some foundation for being Christian doesn't prevent you from experiencing suffering or being any kind of religion. It just gives you some tools to cope with it. And when I got sober, I was raised Catholic, and then I was very anti-Catholic, like recovering Catholic, as I call it. And when I got sober, I would still like flinch when I heard the Lord's Prayer in the meetings, in 12-step meetings. And my sponsor and I did a lot of work around it and I got to a point where I found a lot of comfort in it. And I think someone said to me, even my husband says this, what version of you is better? It doesn't matter if it's real or not. Does the version of you who believes in faith and practices some kind of religion and practices some kind of spiritual something better than the version who doesn't? Then go with that. It's like, I so often want to be like, I need to figure this out.
Right.
And you're like, that's not.
No, you don't have to. I know. I think we tend to over intellectualize everything. Right. Yeah.
Well, this is something that I think our mutual Paul Shirley was talking about on his podcast here recently that I loved, and it's like this idea of informational diabetes, which I have been begging him to write about. And that in the same way that when we got sugar, we ate a lot of it because there wasn't much of it, that was true for information, and it's how we survived. And there's really no limit to how much information we can take in, because we think that more information is good for us, even while it's like killing us.
Right. Yes, that's a good analogy. But then if you just have no information or the wrong you need some information. I mean, that's the thing. I have noticed a lot of people really disengaging as a form of cope. I mean, I'm doing it too. I mean, you just look at it's so over, like the political situation is so confusing and overwhelming. I don't know what's real. I honestly don't.
Yeah, no one does.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I look at it. I don't trust any source. And so I don't really know how to deal with that other than just step back from the whole thing. But then, of course, I think, well, that's what they want you to do. They want you to get so overwhelmed that you don't pay attention. And then, it's The Handmaid's Tale 10 minutes later. I don't know,
I get it though. I mean, when I was on a joint call with my sisters and we were talking about all this stuff, and they were like, well, what do you think about the cloud seeding? What do you think about this is going around? And it's like, who fucking knows what's real? I don't know.
The
All
cloud
I know
seeding
is that
is
a bunch
not
of
real.
parents lost their kids, and that's really it. That's all. That should be the only thing we care about and send energy to, and families. People lost their entire families.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're like, oh, well, the cloud seeding, was it that? And then you go into it and you're like, no, surely that's a conspiracy. And then the guy at Rainmaker's like, well, it wasn't us. I'm like, God damn it. Like,
I think I'm pretty confident that the cloud seeding is not true, but
yeah, but then there's
never.
literally a guy at a company that does cloud seeding who's like, well, we weren't seeding that close to it. I'm like, this is,
Okay.
And it's even like with the Epstein stuff, we were talking about this on Dumpster Fire. They're like, okay, here, case closed. And then they release the video and there's 1 minute missing.
I know.
It feels like a feature, not a bug.
We're so stupid. AI could have done a better job, like releasing a video that was not so glaringly obvious.
But is it to just drive people insane?
Maybe. I mean, but I don't think they're that sophisticated. I mean, that's the thing with conspiracies, is that it assumes a level of organization.
Yeah, you're like
and
me.
Efficiency.
I just think people are too dumb.
People are too dumb. I mean, ask anybody who's worked for any government organization, and but believe me, they're not organized enough. I mean, I have a friend who goes to Davos every year, and she's like, believe me, these people, they don't know their ass from their elbow, half of them. Like, the idea that there's some cabal of global elites figuring all of this out, they don't have it in them.
I've been trying to do stand-up about having to care about the future. Because there is a part of me, when you were talking about, those women who look at you kind of enviously, the older, you're like, I know they're looking at me, and it's like, oh, I'd kill to go sit at a bar and have a glass of wine. That's one thing I would envy. But the other thing is, I didn't have to care. I didn't have any skin in the game, and I didn't have to care. It was like, whatever.
Oh, you mean before you had a child?
Before I had kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I cared, but not really. I cared for not in the way that I suddenly care now, where I'm like, oh, I do hope that the world is better for her. I do hope that we leave her something great. I hope that there's a feeling of optimism and she's not living in a bunker underground, or,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it causes everybody to turn really inward. I mean, I find myself thinking okay, how does this affect me? I mean, it's terrible. I'm ashamed of this. It's like the big, beautiful bill passes and I'm like, okay, how does this affect me? I mean,
that's just human though.
And it's human, but it's I'm so ashamed, I should
Why?
I don't know, because it's like, I should be worried about people losing Medicaid. And I'm like, ChatGPT, what does this mean for my tax return? Or what does this mean for my insurance, my subsidized, Obamacare insurance? That's really it. My medical insurance probably will be affected.
And we know we need that as we get older. Yeah.
Nothing's covered anyway. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I do I think that's just human nature though, too. I feel like I don't think that humans that were hunting, when modern and was it the Industrial Revolution or the printing press? When did we feel like we had to care about people outside of our immediate tribe?
That's affluence, probably. I mean, only very, very recently. I mean, unless there was some kind of religious, I mean, certainly.
That's what I mean. Even that kind of weaponized empathy it feels like a new phenomenon, because there is a part of me that's like, yeah, no, I don't care about your other kids. There's just that it's very biological.
Yeah.
I don't think it's caught up with the
Be Kind movement. Yeah.
Yeah, or the videos of kids start, and also then you have all this mediation that just kind of made it it didn't have the gravity that it should, because you're just bombarded with images. And this was me growing up with as my friend in comedy calls them, the fly kids, the kids who had the
The
we're starving.
Ethiopian,
We grew up with
yes.
that, but now it's like you see Gen Z and they're like, it's just dead Palestinian kids being pulled out of rubble, but they're usually from Syria or wherever, like wherever they're from. They're seeing this all day
Yeah.
long. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course they're setting up encampments. Like you
Yeah.
would be too, I hope, if you were a young kid and you weren't dead inside yet.
Yeah. No, I know. I know. I cannot even imagine. I feel lucky to have been alive when I have been alive. And if it all ends tomorrow, it'd be better. Maybe
I
it's
was
for
with
the best.
my friend who is a Holocaust survivor, and the last time I interviewed him for this podcast, he was like pretty optimistic. I think the title was he's still optimistic about humanity. And then I asked him on his recent 97th birthday, I said, "What do you, after your 97 years, what's your feeling?" And he's like, "Well, I think we missed the boat," or something like that. Like humans missed we didn't quite get it. We missed our chance.
Wow.
We messed up.
Yeah.
We're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
not so optimistic anymore, are you?"
No, I mean, maybe so. I mean, it is. You think about like the history of human civilization. Maybe we are at the end. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like
Oh, that's
that's the thing
crazy. I
about
didn't like
having a
thinking about that.
kid that would
Yeah.
freak me out. I mean, this whole thing is an experiment. I mean, it's like we're here like arguing over the sexual revolution and masculinity crisis. Like the sexual revolution, that is just a nanosecond of time. Like the
Yeah.
time between 1965 and 2025 is just like a blip of a blip of a blip. I mean, and if you look at the big picture, it's
Yeah.
nothing. Everything that we're obsessed about is just so irrelevant in the big scheme of things.
Well, when you talk to these kind of techno optimists who are all about cyborgs and conscious, all of these things that are coming, and AI and the capacities that we can't even imagine having because of AI, you really do realize that this is the stuff. When I see like the arguments about the phones in school, I'm like, oh, that's cute.
Cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you arguing about this now? You should have had this argument 15 years ago.
Right. Well, and
Like,
then
it feels a little late for that. We've got AI who are gonna like, these kids don't even see the point of learning. We have a
I
much
know.
bigger problem on our hands.
I mean, but what do the techno optimists think about their kids and AI? Because aren't these the guys that don't even let their kids have an iPhone? I
Not
mean,
all of them.
oh,
Some of
really?
them do. I mean, some of them I think see it just depends. It depends on the person. Some of them I think see it as it from what I can tell, it is going to privilege the already privileged and give them a massive advantage, and they will know how to use it, and it will make the rest of the people a lot dumber. So people who are taught to use it in the right way, like effectively.
That's not me, by the way. I have no idea how to use it, so I'm gonna
You
get
should
dumber.
ask it to fix your problems and see if it helps.
Maybe it would fix my face. You think you can use AI to get a facelift?
It would probably be able to give you some solution. But now you have like AI hallucinating, so who knows if it even knows what it's talking about. But I do think it'll create it's gonna create like an education disparity again.
Mhm.
You know, there are gonna be, because I think those people who are creating AI are teaching their kids Latin and reading the classics with them, and they're learning different languages and they're learning instruments. And so they're making sure they're multifaceted. They're learning, so the Socratic dialogue, they're learning how to think. They're being taught this kind of
Mhm.
the Western mind.
Right.
And the rest of kids are like, I don't know why I would read.
Yeah.
I can just have ChatGPT summarize it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this is what I've been saying. I think that there's going to be a sort of status flex for Luddite. Not having a smartphone will be a like elite signifier.
Mm.
Which is sort of to your point here. Yeah. I mean, do you use AI? What do you use it for, if anything?
I use it. I can't use it to write because it doesn't help me. I've realized writing is how I process things. So it doesn't help me at all in that respect. It would just leave me feeling dumber, actually, because writing is how I make
you
sense of
write
my
to know
world.
what you think.
And to work things out. And I need that. And I even need, like, even typing isn't always enough. I know that if I haven't been journaling for a while, like I'm avoiding something. So even the pen to paper is, and I still keep a like an analog planner. Even though I have a calendar, I still keep the planner for myself, and that helps me.
Nice.
So, but in terms of using it for things like research is not, it's, you have to like research the research. So what good is that? It's still not, it can be helpful, but you still have to fact check it. There's, but then in terms of brainstorming things, it's amazing for comedy. If I'm like, I need 7 examples of something that I would normally Google and then go looking around, it can synthesize a lot of information very quickly, and then I can kind of pick and choose from that. So I think for brainstorming for stuff, like a good example is this bit I'm working on about we talk about the algorithm the way primitive people talked about gods. And then I'll be like, how did primitive people talk about gods? And then from there I can kind of go and it will just help me brainstorm. So for brainstorming, I love it. And it will give me things that I didn't think. It is very good at helping me describe something that I don't have the language for technically, like in a room. I don't know what everything in this room is called. AI does know what it's called.
That's the kind of thing when you're writing a book or something, you can spend days trying to figure. I mean, I remember when I was writing The Problem with Everything, especially, which was about the culture wars and had a lot of like, political issues and news stories in it. I mean, I could have weeks go by where I was just trying to distill like one particular phenomenon, like trying to explain what the Dear Colleague letter was in 2011 and its relationship to Title IX. That probably took me 3 weeks to write 4 pages on.
That's okay though, because I feel like you're trying to figure something out and distill it.
I did that later, but just laying it out to explain to the reader, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm going to tell you what I think about it. But this is what happened, da, da, da. Would take a week, would easily take 5 days.
AI could do that in like a second. Yeah. I think it's really helpful for outlines, like doing an outline of something where if you have an idea and you can say, here, there was a piece that I wanted to write and I was like, all right, and then from that, I, again, always tweak it and make it my own. But I think for just like first draft outlines, first brainstorming, I'm not anti. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, I'm never going to use it. You know,
which one do you use?
Sarah Siskind?
Yeah.
I kind of use all of them depending, but probably Grok just because I'm mostly on X. And so she's so pro AI, and she did a great podcast with me talking about how to use it in comedy because it can't write jokes. It's not funny. It's probably never really gonna be able to because it can't be. I was like, I'll worry about AI taking my job when it's an alcoholic and a heroin addict, you know, like when it's self-destructing and threatening to kill itself. Then I'll be like, oh, you actually have consciousness now. Yeah. Oh, you're self-actualized.
I feel seen finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that until then, it's not going to be able to really, it can try. And it can, but it's not, it still feels like it is like the flattening.
Okay, but I mean, you say that it's this close. Like, when do you think it's going to catch up?
It might. It's so fast. I mean, they said when we were during our whole young life of the 2010s that it was essentially the zygote stage of computing. And that it was only gonna be, it is the singularity. So I cannot conceive. They also said kids like my daughter's age are not gonna, they're gonna be able to live until they're like 150.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Like doing what?
Okay.
Making
Well,
content?
oh my God. Can you imagine? Like
Just
you're gonna
150
have to, you're
years.
gonna have to make content for the next till you're 150. That's like the worst news I could get. You can't.
You need my
They
husband.
just want to delay Social Security payments. That's what they're trying to do.
What are you working on now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm doing this podcast. So my podcast is called The Unspeakable, and it has been called that for 5 years. I'm just trying to slowly transition it to call it The Unspeakeasy, because that is the name of, as you know, the organization that I started, which is like the community around the Unspeakable podcast. And The Unspeakeasy is it's mostly for women. It started off as a viewpoint diversity enterprise for women. So we do retreats and we have discussions, and it's all off the record. And you've got women from across the political spectrum talking about issues that they can't talk about with their friends, gender, a lot of stuff that came up during COVID. There was just women, as you've heard me say, I think women drive cancel culture. So women police other women, and it's as a result, they just don't speak up. So doing a lot of
You're
stuff.
the anti-woke Robin DiAngelo.
Yes, exactly.
I'll know you've arrived when you're like, when I'm like, hey, can I come to dinner? And you're like, that'll be $2,000, Bridget.
Well, yes. So I am expanding that. We are doing, actually, we're doing a big co-ed on Speakeasy weekend, October 11th and 12th in New York, with like many, many guest speakers: John McWhorter, Carol Hooven, Mike Pesca, Rob Henderson, Ben Appel, Lisa Ellen Davis, Alana Newhouse, who's the editor of Tablet, Andrew Hartz from Open Therapy Institute, Peter Moskowitz, talk about policing. So this is going to be like more participants and more speakers. So a kind of intimate little ideas festival. So people can go to theunspeakeasy.com to find out about that. And also I am doing a book event with Lionel Shriver, September 3rd in New York City. We're going to talk about the Catastrophe Hour and also about her work. She's a best-selling novelist, and you're fellow columnist at The Spectator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's happening September 3rd at the Village Underground in New York. So people can go there. Go to my website.
Your Substack?
Oh my God. I have too many websites. This is another problem. My Substack, you can go to theunspeakablepodcast.com or meghandaum.substack.com. That will take you there. You can also go to my author site, which is meghandaum.com. And you can also go to the Unspeakeasy. I don't know. How do we consolidate all this?
What are we doing?
You can just call me. I'll give up my number. I'll tell you tell you what you need to know.
Just have a landline where people can call you, and it'll get like an old school recording.
I'll get an answering machine with actual tape.
And you can have like a message. It's like, if you want to come to my recent shows are.
That's actually a really good idea.
It's actually not a bad idea.
I like that. I mean, I got to find like not even a micro cassette answering machine, but the regular cassette.
Well, until you have people calling you being like, you fucking problematic bitch.
Or no, they'll be like, why can't I get your podcast to work on an Android? Why won't it come? Why? I'm a subscriber. Why am I not getting this? How do I get, what's wrong? You owe me money.
This is why people should not become content creators.
Exactly.
Because you have to be a business owner, you've got to be an accountant, a bookkeeper,
tech support,
customer services, lighting, camera.
Oh my God,
editor.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah,
and I love it.
I don't recommend it.
No, I as much as I'm like, don't do it to people, I do love it. It is.
Well, you're really good at it. You're the gold standard.
I wish there was more gold with that, but yeah,
you're the golden standard.
I do love it. I love that there are no gatekeepers, because I came up during a time where there were some gatekeepers into no gatekeepers, and it's been great for me to be able to make whatever I want.
Yeah.
People are like, you make too much stuff. I'm like, why wouldn't I?
That's a good
What's
problem to
stopping
have.
me?
No, that means you're engaged with what you're doing and you're excited about it and you keep
I love
making
it.
it. So yeah, I love
Well,
what you
thank
do.
you so much for coming on the show, as always.
Anytime.
And everyone should get your book.
Thank you. It will be, it's not on audio yet. Don't ask me why, but it will be eventually. But you should just buy the book and read it. It fits in your purse.
I read cover to cover, baby, on the plane like an old Luddite.
Very easily digestible. Oh, and I'm doing a book
get
club.
to talk about your house burning down.
Oh,
so
whatever.
bummed.
We'll talk about that another time. Oh, I'm doing a book club. Sorry, one more thing. I'm doing a book club for the Catastrophe Hour on my Substack. Oh my God. This is another. So I know I am releasing podcast episodes, but also every week I'm releasing audio excerpts from the book. And not just audio excerpts, but then mini excerpts. If you're not a paying subscriber, you're going to hear a mini excerpt. And if you're a paying subscriber, you're going to hear a bigger excerpt. And if you're an annual paying subscriber, you can join the book club. And we meet on Zoom every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We talk about one essay per week. We're meeting for 14 weeks. So become a paying subscriber. We're on week 5 now. Become a paying subscriber at the annual level, and you will be able to join the book club, which is off the record. It's recorded only if you happen to miss the meeting, but it's not going to be published or posted anywhere. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun. Great group. Yeah.
So. Do you feel whole now that you have your house? That was one question I wanted to know.
No, I mean, I don't, this is, I'm kind of like, Jennifer Aniston in Office Space. Like, I don't like to talk about my flair. Kind of like I don't like to talk about my house. Well,
you talked about it so much in your book.
Well, I talk about trying to, this is a whole other conversation. I talked about trying to build a house. And I've also written I wrote a whole book called Life Would Be Perfect If I Lived in That House. And it came out in 2010.
So is it perfect?
No, but it is nice to not be living in somebody's backyard. I can say that. It's nice to, I don't know, not be chasing my packages all over town because but
we have a lot more ground to cover.
We do.
We'll have to do another podcast.
Yeah, you can come on mine or I'll come back here or whatever.
Ooh, yeah, we can do a crossover.
Yeah.
A crossover
promote that. Yeah.
Or we can do like a Substack live.
Oh my God. That's the other thing I'm doing. Every Thursday. Oh my God. Every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm on Substack Live.
Wait, do they con you into this? Oh, wow. All right.
Because that's the place to be. I don't know when you're posting this, but I'm doing it with Mike Pesca.
Thursday.
Okay. I'm doing it with Mike Pesca this Thursday, the 10th. And I don't know. I do it every week.
All right. Well,
there's a lot going on.
Anything else?
Probably. Yeah, I'm sure. It's okay. Skip it.
Where can we find you on X? You're mostly on X, right?
Yeah, but I think everything I say gets shadow banned, so I don't think it's Meghan with an H dot. I'm sorry, Meghan with an H _Daum DAUM.
All righty. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm such a fan. Anytime.
I'm such a fan of yours. It's just a fangirl off.
Yeah. All right. Hope to see you soon.
This has been Walk-Ins Welcome with Bridget Phetasy. I'm Bridget Phetasy, and you're welcome. It's the dumbest line.